Megillat Ruth, פרק ב', פסוק כ', chapter 2, verse 20. Ruth just came back with a load of goodies from her day there at the mall, there in the field, collecting, gleaning lots and lots and lots of grain. It was 10 whole days worth of food for one person, Efa. And
what she went to subsequently was like a threshing.
Yes, right? She was threshing.
So what did she do with the grain that she brought home? Did they have to thresh out on their own?
No, she threshed
it in the field.
Because she wouldn't have to carry
She bit it in the field to not be... so she separated... She didn't take the stalks. She left it out there. She was trying to... She wouldn't be able to carry
minimize her load.
Minimize her load. Right. So she came and Ruth and Naomi obviously said, "Whoa, what did you do today? Where did you glean?" And gleaning that amount was also in and of itself an amazing bracha, or not exactly a miracle, but almost not human to do for a lady her age. She was 40 years old at the time, Ruth. So what happened is, so she told her, I was gleaning at this great man field. His name was Boaz. So that's where we left off last time. So ותאמר נעמי לכלתה, ברוך הוא להשם אשר לא עזב חסדו את החיים ואת המתים. ותאמר לה נעמי, קרוב לנו האיש מגואלנו הוא. So Naomi says to her daughter-in-law, "Blessed he God that didn't leave didn't withhold his chesed, his charity from the live one and the dead ones." So what does she mean about the live and the dead? Obviously, the live is Naomi and Ruth, who needed to live, and they didn't have what to live off. But who are the dead? The dead are obviously those the son-in-laws and her husband, Naomi's husband, Avimelech, who passed away. What we learn from here is that we learn something very, very important. We learn that when someone passes away, and a live person related to them is doing a favor to the to the survivors, the neshama has a lot of pleasure from it, because otherwise, what the dead here, they died a while back already. I mean, it's still within the year, it's still probably within the month, but they're dead already. What good do they have from it? So we learn that when we do something to a survivor, it's giving them a lot of nachat, and that's the origin of a lot of what we do with the Leilu Nishmat this and Leilu Nishmat that. It's not only for the to elevate their neshama; it's also to give them nachat ruach, to give them respect, to make them joyful right now. The neshama can be joyful right now. Now, the thing is that Naomi said it to her daughter-in-law, who was a Moabite until recently, right? And she was not exactly familiar with the whole concept. Hi, good evening.
Hey, good evening.
She was not really familiar with the whole concept. And so she didn't understand what is the benefit that the dead one deriving from what happened today. She went to the field, she collected some grain, and somebody is starting to talk about her dead husband. I mean, she didn't understand what was going on here? What is the benefit that the dead people are getting from it? We are on page
102.
102, which is Ruth chapter 2, verse 20. Just to recap, Ruth came back after gleaning in the field, brought a lot of food back for her and her mother-in-law, Neomi. And Neomi was asking, where did you get so much? How were you able to collect so much? So she told her that I just bumped into this field that belongs to this nice man called Boaz. So she told him, oh, thank God, because she right away made all the calculations. She understood what's going on here. But Ruth didn't understand. So this is the second, in the same pasuk, we have the second time saying, Vatomer la. So Naomi explained to her again, additionally, Vatomer la Naomi, Karov lanu haish migoalenu. She told her that, you know what, the benefit that we're going to derive, that we might derive, that the dead people might derive from it. Because this guy, this Boaz guy, he is our relative. And therefore, he might be able to marry you and save you from a life of poverty and for just being forgotten and be left by your dead husband and without children. And Naomi obviously was very, very old at the time. If Ruth was 40, and so Naomi was at least probably 70-ish, if not more, 80. She was an older woman at the time. And, she's realized that Ruth eventually will remain alone. And she's a foreigner in a foreign land. What will happen to her? So she told her, listen, he's our relative, and that might, one day, something might happen.
Good catch.
Good catch, exactly.
Question.
Now, yes.
Naomi never goes out of the house or wherever it is. She's always, it's like...
She's busy cooking and cleaning.
Naomi is an older
I understand.
woman, very bitter. This is the first day that someone went out of the house. It was Yom Tov. Now this is after Yom Tov. So they started harvesting. So she went to glean. There was nothing, and she's an old woman. She can't really manage to do any of that. She doesn't have any. She doesn't want to. She doesn't want to see anybody. She's very down. She's bitter.
She
just
goes out to shop right.
So
This is
exactly.
the first day after Achron Shel Pesach.
This is likely the first day after Achron Shel Pesach, right? After in Eretz Israel, it's Shvi Shel Pesach. There is no Achron Shel Pesach, but yeah. Okay.
What's the difference?
No, because he said that she came.
They came out of Pesach. Yeah, they came out of Pesach. Yeah. So this is like the day after Achron. Now,
opportunity for chametz.
right, exactly. So she
we're
was,
helping them
she
out.
was, so maybe Naomi stayed home to make pizza or something. They didn't have what from. Anyway, now just another point. Naomi was saying, Karov lanu, that he is our relative. Typically, when you find someone who is important, Boaz was, by all accounts, an important guy. He was the judge of the generation. He was leading the generation, right? So, I'm his relative. I'm related to him, right? Instead, she's turning it around, and Naomi says, we are the important ones. He is related to us. What did she mean?
Well, she had come from a family of
She
prominence.
came from a very, very big yichus, from a very important family. Her husband was the, richest guy in the land, the most important guy in Eretz Israel before he left. And Boaz, with all of his greatness, was considered, at least in her eyes, secondary. She also knew that they're coming from a line that destined to produce kings, from Yehuda, from Peretz, they were destined to produce kings. That's why her husband name was Elimelech. You know, that's to signify, right, God will, God's king. And so she finally starting to see how that might happen now that Boaz and Ruth had met. Okay. So, Vatomer Ruth Moaviyah. So this is a very interesting conversation that's happening here, and there are some little intricacies here. So, Vatomer Ruth Moaviyah, Ruth the Moabite. We said several times that whenever we mention the origin of Ruth of Moaviyah, which is not something that we do with converts, you're not allowed to mention to a convert, hey, you're a Mormon, whatever. You can't tell them that, remind them their previous life, because that makes them feel bad. So why we keep saying Ruth Moaviyah? So it says that whenever it says Ruth Moaviyah, it's for a reason, is to justify something that happened. Because she is a Moaviyah, we understand so and so. So what do we understand here? So she said the following, and we'll right away understand why we needed to mention that she is a Moabite. She was a Moabite. גם כי אמר אלי עם הנערים אשר לי תדבקין, עד אם כילו את כל הקציר אשר לי. So she said that the Boaz is really indeed qualified for this blessing that Naomi gave him, because he was very, very nice. He told me two things. He told me, stick with the boys, stick with the ne'arim, stick with the boys that are the harvesters that are working for me, and stick with them until they finish all of the harvest. And meaning that you should at kol hakatzir all of my harvest, not the harvest and my harvest. Meaning stick here in this field until the end of the harvest, which is at the time it took 3 months. It started with the barley and then ended up with the wheat. Total amount of time, it's 3 months of harvest. That's from about Pesach, 3 months. It's Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz, and then the heat of Av kills whatever is left. So basically, stay around here. Now, what Boaz really told her is stick with my mates, with the girls, not with the boys. Don't hang around with the boys. Hang around with the girls. So why is she repeating to her mother-in-law that he told her to stick around with the boys? That's not what he said.
What pasuk did he tell her to stick with the girls?
He told her back in
when she first started working with him in the field.
Because he had her sit and have lunch with the boys.
Yeah, no. He told her.
Not everybody needs a combination, but we can let the door open.
What? No.
Close to my workers.
Yeah, that's
just her
she.
relating it.
Repeating what he said. Yeah.
Karen said the 15th is Wednesday.
Which Wednesday should we?
No, I can see it here.
For the last 7 weeks.
And
Achat shift. Okay.
Page 93.
okay.
No.
Okay. It's in pasuk chet, pasuk 8.
Yeah, right.
וכה תדבקין עם נערותיי. And you should, לא תעברי מזה, תעבורי מזה, וכה תדבקין עם נערותיי. You should stick with my girls. So why is he saying suddenly, why is she saying boys? So that is the reason we mentioned that she is a Moabite. Because where she came from, there was no distinction between hanging around with boys, hanging around with girls. It wasn't a society that was a model society. It wasn't a society that was promoting separation between the genders until marriage. Even today, if someone says that they don't go out to meet a woman alone in the evening, they mock him in the news because he's crazy. So they're not used. She wasn't used to this kind of behavior. So she said, boys, girls, whatever, guys. She didn't really feel the distinction. That's number one. Number two, she might have not understood the language all that well. And in Hebrew, you have a distinction between Zachar and Nekeva, right, male and female. In the Moabite language, there isn't, or there wasn't. So she didn't really catch that distinction that she had to stay with the girls. Vatomer Neomi el Ruth kalata. So Naomi answered her, Tov biti ki tetzim na'arota v'lo yifgeu bach b'sadeh acher. So she corrected her, and she said, what he really meant to say is, stick with the girls. You know, yeah, the boys are good. They're not going to touch you. He ordered them not to hurt you, not to harm you, not to bother you. But nonetheless, it will be wise if you just stick with the girls, with them. Because another thing, when he said that you should stick with them until the end of the harvest, while the boys were working for him, he had some measure of authority over them, and he was able to tell them not to touch her. But at the end of the harvest, they all went home. They were not working. They're not salaried employees. So they would leave, and they would not be any. He would not have any control over them. And if Ruth would sort of be friends with them, who knows what will happen at that point? So he was only responsible until the end of the katzir.
But you're saying that what he actually said to her was stay with the girls.
Yes.
Okay.
But he also ordered the boys to do this and to do that.
Now, how did Ruth know that she had made a grammatical mistake? Why didn't Ruth
She
conclude
knows
that
Boaz.
he was so...
Ruth knows Boaz. Naomi knew Boaz, and she knew the.
I'm sorry. How did Naomi know?
Yeah, she knew Boaz, and she knew the society, and she can imagine that Boaz, who was her first cousin, who wouldn't tell her hang around with the boys. That doesn't make sense.
It's not 2018.
Right, exactly. Okay, so what does she do? She does exactly what her mother-in-law is telling her to do. ותדבק בנערות בועז ללקט עד כלות קציר השעורים וקציר החיטים ותשב עם חמותה. So she was hanging around with the maids. Now, typically in those days, what was happening? When someone would go to work in the field, they would typically stay in the field. They would sleep over there. Even the paupers that would go collect, they would not run back to town every night, because it's it takes them 2 hours to get out, 2 hours to come back. There's nothing left to work. So people would remain in the field, and there were some accommodations for that, some sheds, whatever. But nonetheless, she came back every night to be with her mother-in-law, even though the mother-in-law was an older lady and felt very bitter, and one can imagine that it was not fun and games to hang around her, every day. And you would think that Ruth would want out, come on, it's what do I have to be in this kind of an environment? But she was so dedicated and so nice and such a mensch that she came back again and again and again every day, and she stayed with her for 3 months. She stayed with her until the end of the harvest of the wheat. Now, this 3 months is a very important time period. The law is that when a woman converts to Judaism, she's not allowed to actually get married for 3 months after the conversion, because we have to know, in case she's pregnant, if the child is before or after. So, and this is something that's really being enforced in Israel till this very day, for conversions, for divorce. Somebody got divorced, they cannot remarried within 3 months, because you have to know if the boy belongs to the first or the second father. So
Is that something that's derived from this book, was it in existence beforehand?
it's something that was in existence beforehand,
So it's in Torah?
but the conversion part is being learned from here. The conversion part. Now we have to be very careful, because this is this is not Torah, and there are no new laws that can be introduced in the Nach part. All the laws are in the Torah. It's just that we have a lot of, in the Nach, we have a lot of references. And this is the way it was applied. So if you're not sure how to learn it or where to learn it from, you can sort of get a clue from the Nach how people really acted and what should it be. But it's not, we cannot really say that it's learned from here. It's learned that was the practice from here. All right, and with that, we at the middle point of the book, we finished chapter 2 out of 4, and now we also moved 3 months ahead. So we're 3 months ahead, around Av or Elul time, right? And she was continuing with the gleaning and going out to the field and coming back. And Boaz does not make a move, right? Boaz did not initiate the request to have a date with Ruth, perhaps. So Naomi, who knows Boaz well from youth, feels that she needs to sort of intervene and help push it in the right direction. She's playing the shadchan role.
Like you.
So yeah, you have to help God sometimes, right? He doesn't know what he's doing always, so you have to help him, right? So vatomer la Naomi chamuta. So this is a very interesting language. Naomi, her mother-in-law, told her, Biti, my daughter. Not my daughter-in-law, my daughter. So she's talking to her in a very close, very intimate and close, and told, Halo avakesh lach manoach asher itav lach. I'm going to ask for respite for you, for to arrive at a good place, at a place, feeling good, and that will benefit you, that will create goodness for you. She's basically telling her as follows.
Go after him.
She's telling her that many times the shadchanim are just want to close the deal and just get the match moving, and they're not exactly thinking about the individuals. Parents is also very, very much like that. How many times the parents don't like the boyfriend or the girlfriend or and they decided who and what, and it's not necessarily always to the benefit of the child. But here she wanted her to feel 100% comfortable that she is acting 100% in her interest, and her needs are at heart and on forefront of her mind, and she's not looking for anything else, because obviously it would be hard to understand how an old lady would want her out of the house when she's so dedicated and so helping. So she was telling her, listen, I you're my daughter, and I really want you to get married. So we see again that this relationship between the two women was bidirectional. Was mutual. Now,
Naomi never considered herself going to see.
Exactly. Naomi never considered herself, because she was a first cousin, and she was an old lady, and there was no real.
But she's a relative. She could say, "Listen,
Yeah,
I've got
but
this daughter-in-law who's
She had a
eligible.
different plan.
She had a better plan. Learn
That's
from
why
the
men
master.
don't do this.
Learn from the master. You're not a good shotgun.
No, don't say that. Oh, yeah.
Oh no, you're a great shotgun.
No, I mean, like, he would always tell me, don't say anything.
Those
Oh,
certainly
yeah.
right. Now she right away felt, she had that sense. She felt that Boaz is not making the move. That's number one, and she mentioned the word manoach, right?
That's my cold. Go ahead.
She mentioned the word manoach. Now, Boaz, we know, was a shofet, 2 shoftim before Shimshon. His other name was Ivtzan, or Ivtzan. Now, what happened with him is he had 30 boys and 30 girls. He had 60 kids.
Big family to support.
Oh,
Boaz.
yeah, that was the one.
Exactly. And he married them all.
Married them
But
off.
he married them off. Yeah, he married. And they all died. All 60 of them died in his lifetime after the wedding. And after their
Kids.
wedding,
Oh, their
after the
respective
kids, the
weddings.
respective weddings, yeah.
He didn't have much luck.
And he had it very, very hard. And then his wife died, and he sort of thought that he was left alone. This is the only criticism that we find about Boaz. Why did he suffer so much? Why did he have such a bad luck? Is because he did not invite Manoach, the father of Shimshon, to the weddings. We all know, and this is practice that occurs today. I mean, if he doesn't invite me, I'm not going to invite him to the wedding, right? Now, Manoach at the time did not have Shimshon. That was years before she became pregnant, and she was barren. She was not able to have children. So the logical thing is, why should I invite them to the wedding? They're never going to be able to reciprocate and invite me to their wedding because they don't have a child. So Boaz never invited them to any of the weddings. Invited everybody else except them. And that hurt. And that story apparently was eventually was known and became, that's why he didn't invite Manoach. And somehow Naomi is hinting that she's already going to take care and invite Manoach for that wedding, for their wedding. So don't worry.
Translate as security, Noah.
Manoach, yeah, it's milashon lanuach, milashon to rest. It's not security; it's to
I
rest.
think that's what it says here.
It's
But you're saying there's a double meaning.
it has a double meaning, right? It has probably more than double, but that's the two I know.
Manoach isn't also a gift sometimes?
Manoach, no. Matana is a manoach, no.
No, I know
No,
matana.
manoach is, I don't know if it's a
Okay.
gift. Anyway. All right. Now, let me just see. All right. So she managed to tell her that she shouldn't worry and marry Boaz, even though his luck, his track record was not as stellar about the children, because the whole idea for them to get together, she mentioned, is one of the ideas is to produce and to have children that will come in place of the children that she didn't have with her first husband. So, ועתה לו בועז מודענו מודעתנו, I don't have it here. Right. ועתה לו בועז מודעתנו אשר היית את נערותיו, הנה הוא זורע את גורן השעורים הלילה. So she told her this is the plan. Because Boaz is known to us, he is someone that we know. We know his family. We know who he is, and you know his nature. Because in order to marry someone, you want to know two things. You want to know that they're coming from a good family and that they're good. Not sure what order, but you want to know that both things are good. So she told Ruth, listen, I know him, definitely, he's a relative, and he's coming from a very good family, and he also, yourself, the way he was treating you, he was very nice. So, and tonight, he's going to Zoret Agon. What is Zoret Agon? Zoret Agon is, after the harvest, they took the stalks off, the grain off the stalks, and then the stalks would the grain would have also a thin layer of shell, and that has to be shaken up in the wind. So they would not do it typically in the field because the wind in the field is too strong and it will blow the grain away. So they usually did it in a valley where you have some breeze, but enough to take the shells out, to fly the shell away, but not the grain. And he told her that he is going to do that, and typically it's being done at the end of the harvest because there is no rush in doing it right away. So they just needed to collect the grain, and all they did is harvesting. At the end of the harvest, they would just do this zriya baruach. It's lizroa baruach is to fly it in the air and to toss it, exactly.
Separates the chaff from the
And so it separates the chaff from the wood, exactly.
It's like a net.
Right, and you used to shake it.
Right. Now, what happened is that in that generation, it was known that people are, it was not safe in the fields. You would have thieves that at night would come and steal from the fields. Very similar to what happened today in some parts of Israel, right? You would have people who don't believe in our laws coming and stealing from the fields. So Boaz was camping in the field right around his grains to make sure that they don't walk, they don't disappear. So he was there at night as well. And this is the night that like everything comes together. Number one, Boaz is he's great and he worked hard and he's a leader. He has a good yichus. And this is the right time because when the owner of the field comes to the end of the harvest and they actually able to separate the shells from the grain itself and take it home, they're happy because this is it. The hard part of the year is over. So when they're happy, when someone is happy, it's easy to ask them for things. If you want something from someone, it's catch them in a good mood. So she knew he's going to be in a good mood. So this is what she's telling her to do, and this is where we're going to talk for a while about several aspects of this. So he tells her. So Naomi tells Ruth, go take a shower. V'rachatzt v'sacht, and you should
Your perfume.
Perfume or oil.
On your body.
V'samt simolotaich, and you should wear your clothes, your dress.
Your Shabbos clothes.
What?
Says finery. Your
Your
best.
Shabbos clothes.
Your Shabbos clothes, exactly. Because they're asking what she was not walking around with. I mean, she was wearing stuff, but she didn't have Shabbos. She wear Shabbos clothes. Alaych v'yarad hagoren al tivadi leish ad kaloto le'chol u'lishlot. And you should go to the field where he's to the goren where he's tossing where he's going to toss the grain, and wait. Don't make sure that nobody sees you. Make sure that you're not talking to anybody. Make sure that because he might have workers over there. And she wanted to isolate them and make sure that nobody is hanging around with him or sees her with him. And just wait till he finishes eating and drinking again. You want something from a man? Give him a little bit eating food. Yeah, full stomach, right? And that was the plan. So now there are so many discussions and questions about what is going on here. I mean, that sounds like
Seduction.
yeah, it doesn't sound like something nice that a nice Jewish woman, lady, will do,
Especially
you
an
know?
old lady to suggest it.
Yeah, an old lady, she knows, at her age, she knows already how it works. I mean, she still, it doesn't make sense, you know? There is something way more important behind what's going on here. And the rabbis are mentioning several things. The main idea is that, and it follows what happened to her ancestor, what happened to Yehuda and Tamar, which was also a relationship that was not straightforward. She married his children, Yehuda's children, Er and Onan, and Er and Onan passed away, and then he ended up with her thinking that she is a prostitute. Wasn't really a straightforward marriage or meeting, because the rabbi says that whenever there is something good that's about to happen, the Satan is there to try to prevent it. This is one of the reasons now we have a little new boychik, so this is one of the reasons that on the 8th night before the bris, it's the custom is to learn around the boy, to bring kids to say Shema Yisrael and Malach HaGoel around the boy before the bris, because bris is something that is like is something which is a red flag for the Satan, for the Yetzer Hara. They're trying to prevent this from happening. As the Satan is trying to prevent this as much as possible, and no method is spared to prevent a good thing from happening to a Jewish boy or girl. And what she was thinking is, let's make this look like not like a good thing. Make this look like something that the Satan would agree with. Oh, let's just a woman and a man alone at night, not married, I'll sign for it, the Satan would say. And so trying to sort of, this is why we also blowing shofar in Elul, to mix up the Satan, so he's not sure what it mixed up. He doesn't know the calendar, because we do tshuva, so that mixes him up. So again, we take certain steps to try to get extra help from God to arrive at a good situation, and this is what she was trying to do. There is a lot more about the maybe we should do it now, and we'll do the clothing later. So one of the it's more of a Kabbalistic interpretations that is mentioning here, that Er and Onan, which were the two sons of Yehuda who passed away, their neshama became the neshama of Machlon and Kilyon, the two boys of Elimelech who passed away. So the same neshama was sent to the same family with a mission, again and again, trying to get them to do the right thing, and they didn't. Er and Onan do again some very not correct behavior, and that's why they died. Machlon and Kilyon went and married not Jewish women. So again, they were trying. So God was trying to manage it, so to speak, to give, because we have free will. So He was trying to get those two neshamot to do the right things, and they again and again didn't do the right thing. Ruth and Tamar also has they written the same way with one letter difference, right? Tamar and Ruth, the first and the last letter is Resh and Taf, and the middle letter is different, right? And the middle letter, that's so. And the middle letter has a Ruth is Vav, and Tamar is Mem. Mem is 40, Vav is 6. So the difference between the two is 34. 34 is the gematria of dal, of poor, because we're you can go all night. You can go all night with this kind of thing. The bottom line is that she was trying to arrange something that a shidduch. Now, let's just finish with the discussion about clothing. Okay, we said, as you saw in the commentary, that she was asking her to wear Shabbos clothes. Why? What's the point? And what do we learn from it? So first of all, the rabbi is saying that we learn that we need to have Shabbos clothes from this pasuk. We need to have Shabbos clothes. Even though they were poor and they didn't have what to live on, Shabbos clothes they had. And in those days, Shabbos clothes was white versus, off-white or dark clothes during the week.
I mean, this is the first time in all of Tanakh that we get a change of wardrobe. A person has
there were two others. There was another change. We changed clothing before Matan Torah, and the Kohanim are changing the clothing. We're changing clothing before work, and this is the third time that we mentioned. So those three things: Matan Torah, Kehuna, and clothing. And the question is, why are the clothes so important? Why that's what they're saying by the simlotaich and not bgadim. Beged is a clothes, and simla is a dress. It's an important one. So the question is, why is that important? I mean, you would understand it for Matan Torah. You should have a mental preparation, emotional preparation. You should learn something. You should, get yourself spiritual. Who cares what you're wearing, really? Why is that? How is that suddenly so important, the clothing? I mean, and we know if you look at a religious society, most people wear uniforms, They all wear the same thing, basically. Why is that?
Black hat, black suit.
Whatever the society du jour, but why are they wearing uniforms? Why is it so?
Because everybody wants to belong.
So the point is that the clothing is not just for shelter. It's not just to save you from the heat or from the cold. The clothing has a psychological function as well. They are obviously when someone is dressed nicely and they wear a suit and a tie and they feel good about themselves, they wouldn't act usually, unless they drink a little bit, they wouldn't act silly or crazy under regular circumstances. The clothing helps the person act normal. And act in a respectful way, and act in a dignified way. But there is also, and that's again from the Kabbalah, the clothing has, just like anything else in the world, has sparks of godliness in them. And the fact that the human being needs clothing, it's not only for shelter, it's because there is something in those sparks that we as human beings can benefit from. There is something holy about clothing that we can benefit from, that can contribute to our well-being, can contribute to our holiness, essentially. That's why a Kohen that is not wearing clothing in the proper clothing in Bet HaMikdash is not allowed to serve. Because the clothing, there is a midrash that equates them to a korban. It has the strength of a sacrifice. Because it's so important, it has something holy about it that is influencing the person. Shabbos clothing, even more so. And there is even an opinion that Shabbos clothing should be something that was never worn on a weekday. Because once a piece of clothing is worn on a weekday, it gets tarnished by the unholiness of the weekday. And therefore, it's a it's not such a good pipe and such a good vehicle to make the person holy themselves during Shabbos. There is I'm looking for the actual midrash. I can't find it now, but anyway. But the point is that what Naomi was telling Ruth was not just a practical thing, wear your Shabbos clothes so the man will like you. Because when she's there at night, and in those days there was no running, electricity, he wouldn't see the type of clothing she's wearing anyway.
He would see white
He would-
versus color.
Possibly, if it's a full moon. But she was giving her more of a spiritual advice, more of a, it's not, things are not only the way you see them in Judaism. It's that there is a lot of layers. There are a lot of layers. That there is a lot of holiness behind everything in the world, and we have to uncover it and figure it out and use it. And one of the ways to use it is to wear Shabbos clothes. And there's more to say about it, but the rabbi is waiting. So that's about the clothing. So, but what we learn from here is that it's important to have Shabbos clothing. Even people who don't have money should spend on Shabbos clothing, just like Ruth and Naomi did.
We have an